Welcome, welcome to the Sustainable Marketing, SEO, and AI Visibility, a private podcast on nervous system friendly marketing in the post algorithm era. If anything comes up as you're listening, questions, reflections, or even just a sentence that landed, you're welcome to share it in the comments and no pressure at all. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and listen at your own pace. I'm Natalie Parsons, digital midwife, your sustainable marketing expert with 2 decades of entrepreneurial experience. This is a pre-episode, so we're going to sink in here to an invitation, an intention. So this series is about orientation, perspective, and grounded strategy for people who already have something and want to tend it wisely. So before we begin, I want to take a few minutes to share the intention behind this series and how it came to be. So this podcast wasn't created quickly. In fact, over the last few months to a year-ish, who knows, before recording a single episode, I wasn't just planning content, I was listening. I was noticing patterns in my own business, patterns in conversations with clients, and patterns in the questions that people kept asking. So especially around sustainability, burnout, visibility, and what it actually means to grow a business without losing yourself. So I began writing, just slowly. Almost like I was writing like blog posts to myself though. And I sketched out the themes. I followed threads of curiosity and let the ideas develop over time, then forcing them all into a neat outline. I paid attention to really what wanted more space, what felt more complete. And as I was writing, I kept asking myself a simple question. Would this land if I spoke it? Not as a lecture, not as a course, but as a conversation. And that was my orientation here. That's why this series isn't structured like a traditional program or a step-by-step framework. Each episode has a theme, but there's room for nuance. There's room for reflection and real life context. This work lives in the gray areas, and it's about unlearning, relearning, not just intellectually, but somatically. It's about noticing how business practices land in the body. It's about questioning what we've been taught to normalize and gently exploring alternatives that are more humane, that are more sustainable, and more honest. I want to be transparent, and I want to be transparent from the beginning. This series was created with care, with time, and a lot of lived experience behind it. I bring nearly 2 decades of experience as an entrepreneur, someone who was marketing long before social media, who has lived through many shifts since. And AI is new for all of us, you know? There is a lot of nuance to explore around how it's implemented in our lives, in our business, the impact on our bodies, on our psychology, our communities, and our environment. I want to name briefly and clearly that AI carries environmental and social implications, including impacts on our water systems and marginalized communities. This podcast won't be a deep dive into these topics, but it felt incredibly important to acknowledge this. AI isn't going anywhere. And while some people may choose to not use it, the reality is that it's already embedded of much of what we touch every single day. Our phones, internet, platforms. And living a fully analog life is becoming so difficult and almost impossible, especially if you're listening to this podcast. You're on YouTube. So rather than pretending that we can opt out entirely, I'm more interested in a different question. What might it look like to be in relationship with technology in a way that honors our humanity and our environment? That is the question I am asking myself on this journey as a human and as an entrepreneur. And these answers will unfold in time. And that is part of the inspiration for these series in a way, because I don't have the answers and I don't pretend to. There are people far more educated than me on these topics. And I encourage you to seek out their work as well, because I'm learning alongside you. And I will be collecting more and more resources as I go so that I can share with others. That is one of my goals. So, my focus here today, to be in right relationship with technology, is on sustainable marketing, SEO, AI visibility through a nervous system friendly lens. And this series is about how we navigate the post algorithm era in a practical, grounded ways while staying in relationship with our values, with our capacity, and our humanity. This series isn't about certainty, it's about discernment. As you listen, I want to invite you into a slower posture. You don't need to take notes. You certainly can, but you don't have to. You don't need to apply everything immediately. You don't need to agree with everything that's shared. Honestly, I may listen back to this series in 2, 5, 10 years and want to edit parts of this series because I can only speak from where I am in this moment in time. But what I do know is this: the foundations don't change. After 2 decades of entrepreneurship and marketing, the foundations do not change. Clarity, values, relationship will always ground your marketing no matter how the platforms evolve, right? So let this be something that keeps you company, something that you can return to, something that you can sit with. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't, trust your own timing, your capacity, your wisdom. And each episode is designed to offer context. So, what's changing, reframing, why it matters, gentle strategy, what to do or what to stop doing, and a reflective prompt. So optional, never mandatory, but these prompts can be here to support you, whether you're just sitting with it and letting it percolate over time, or doing a deep dive by pulling out a Google Doc and an entire brain dump onto the page, right? So, trust your wisdom. Trust your wisdom, your capacity, and your timing. This podcast is about sustainable visibility, nervous system friendly marketing, and navigating the post algorithm era with integrity. We're doing this together. And when you're ready, we can begin with episode 1.